Blocksoft and CU Ledger are working right now on a payment application. The problem that we have and we're trying to address is that credit unions are smaller type of financial institutions, also known as financial cooperatives, and they're profit-minded but not profit-driven. They have to cooperate, right? Because generally credit unions are created by smaller companies that get together that need shared financial services, and therefore they really can benefit from a shared banking sort of ecosystem. And what credit unions are doing together with CU Ledger is essentially creating a shared core banking system built on top of Corda, right? That's the big goal. Obviously, you start doing it by building applications, and the first problem we're addressing is payments, right? Because especially for cross-border payments, you need to do a lot of regulatory compliance-related things, such as KYC AML process. You need to ensure that people know who they're paying, they're not making mistakes because mistakes are costly, right? And they want to be competitive with normal financial services institutions as well. With payment, the first thing you want to do, you want to say, okay, I want to make a transaction, and I want to make a transaction to this counterparty. So all of a sudden you are starting to deal with identity and details, right? So you want to say, okay, I'm going to use my account, right? You authorize to use that account, so you prove it by your identity. And then you use Corda to basically start connecting to other systems, right? Because you're doing a transaction outside of a financial institution, in this case, a credit union. So the Corda serves as a way to connect the other party, right? The other credit union essentially, to conduct that transaction. And Corda is unique because once you start coordinating payments, you want these payments to be peer-to-peer, right? Because today what happens, you send a payment, you connect to SWIFT or connect to other type of payment rails, and then you're actually not sure what happens, right? With more modern system, yeah, it's a bit better, but all the system actually just send a message, you just wait for things to happen, right? Can take a few days even, and cost, substantial amount of money. With Corda now, we can be sure, right? We actually sharing information peer-to-peer, like nobody's involved, and at the same time, both parties, they sign their transactions, so it's stored cryptographically. We can prove it, we can audit it, right? And we can start sharing and keeping track of important regulatory information such as KYC, AML check, the consent, that person wants to send the money, the other person is aware and wants to receive the money. And that was not possible. And at the same time, the other unique feature of Corda that we're using is ability to start external processes to a transaction, the subflows. In this case, we're using Corda settler technology to basically connect to any type of payment rails, which we need, right? Because we want to offer innovative services. Depending on where you make the transaction, we want to route that transaction the best possible way for the amount of money, for the amount of time, or conversion rate, right? So we want to use the same set of technologies and meet the regulatory compliance goals, transparency goals, non-repudiation goals, at the same time, make it efficient. And Corda is, in my mind, is the only technology that allows you to do that. I think a very important aspect of achieving progress here, right? When we talk about KYC, AML, or actually connecting to the real world, is that when we talk about identity, lots and lots of people say, oh, okay, I know how to solve identity problem, right? I can use PKI, I can use encryption, I can use zero-knowledge proofs, I can put things on blockchain. My ask is, please don't reinvent the wheel. The community has been working on this for a long, long time. There's emerging standards. And I don't believe that we as an industry can make progress unless we adopt standards, especially for identity, right? Because if people are confused, they're not going to adopt anything. Pay attention to what community is doing. A Decentralized Identity Foundation is Hyperledger Indy, Hyperledger Aries project, what Corda is doing, and contribute to this effort rather than try to reinvent the wheel. I think that's a very important message. I mean, we ourselves, we contributed Corda Cardinity to the Corda ecosystem, to the Hyperledger Labs ecosystem, which allows to easily connect self-sovereign identity and verifiable claims to Corda, states and flows essentially. And we're happy to work with anybody to move it further along, make it more easy to use and more practical, to really help ourselves to bridge the gap from this technology innovation to adoption.